What's going on, guys? My name is P2P Tega. Welcome to the Fights and Fragz podcast. Episode, what is this, 4? I believe it's episode 4. Once again, recording from my car before work. We're going to try this just off of the headphones that I have right now versus the lab mic to see a quality difference. The last podcast, you're like, who cares? I care. I'm getting it out there. Last podcast, I think, I filmed 3 or 4 or recorded 3 or 4 bits using my studio mic, which sounds much better, but I just don't have the ability to record at home right now with 3 children and a wife, and I just don't have the room right now because we currently have a room that I guess is a storage for somebody's stuff. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Welcome to the podcast. What a crazy event we just had. UFC 302. UFC 302. You had some... I'm not going to lie to you guys. I may have lied to you. I told you guys it was going to be a great fight. And it ended up being a trash fight card. Really. I mean, aside from... I think there was maybe 1 KO, 2 submissions. You got Kevin Holland, who got a submission after being rocked, which was an amazing fight. I would consider it that because I had wrote Kevin Holland out as soon as he got hit, and the guy pretty much just gave his arm up, and Kevin Holland managed to it looked like he broke it. I didn't see any official announcement that it was broken or anything, but I can tell you that man's arm, even 3 days of a break, he's still going to be feeling that because that thing was in there tight. It was in there deep. It was actually a pretty insane submission. And the fact that the man did not tap also makes that man a lunatic because Kevin Holland looked like he snapped it. Referee stopped it at a good time. Some people call it early stoppage. I disagree. That man was about to lose his arm and Kevin Holland was going to take it back to Texas with him. Good fight there. You had the Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa fight. Not so good. I have no clue what the hell I watched in that other than Sean Strickland try to engage the most Sean Strickland way, which is jab, teep kick, jab, teep kick, jab, teep kick. And Paulo Costa did the exact same thing that Israel Adesanya did. Paulo Costa couldn't figure it out, so instead he just kept backpedaling, trying to counterpunch, but wasn't really able to do that. Paulo Costa said he was going to come and stand and bang. There was no stand and bang. They stood there, and Paulo Costa ran in fear. So, I don't know. Paulo Costa probably, his last few fights have not been that great in my opinion. Now, they got people saying that Sean Strickland's a boring fighter. I personally love Sean Strickland. His issue is his matchups. If you match him up with somebody who's going to stand and bang, you're going to get a great fight. If you match him up with somebody who does not want to stand and bang, you're going to have tons of boring fights. I believe Sean's supposed to have some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, at least takedown defense-wise. Would love to see it. We probably won't see it, but I want to see it, but you need somebody who's going to stand and bang with him in order to make him an interesting fighter. If you don't have somebody who's going to stand and bang with him, you're going to get what you just got with Costa. Also, like I said, I get it. These guys aren't trying to, you get chinned, your brain gets a little damage to it, and it's just like another knock on the board of brain damage that you have now, so you're going to try to avoid that. Paulo Costa just could not get anything started at all, and all Sean Strickland did was just walk forward, jab, teep kick, which is just enough to keep Paulo Costa back. Pretty boring fight, put people to sleep. I will admit that I fell asleep just because the fights were pretty boring. So I had to catch them the next day, stay off social media and everything like that. So I caught them on Sunday at the gym while I was getting, my miles in on the treadmill, and watched the last of the Dustin Poirier versus Islam fight in the sauna. Now that we're on Dustin Poirier and Islam, what a story for Dustin, I think he's had 3 title attempts at getting the title. He's got a title, it says, that he was holding it while the champion was out. He just doesn't have an undisputed title. His chance to get the undisputed title, he takes it all the way to 5 rounds and then gets caught in a Darce choke and I guess taps, but it looks like he goes out as well. What an incredible warrior. Most of the times from these Islam fights, that anytime somebody fights Islam, you just see how much better Islam is than all of these fighters that he usually fights. There's very little, very, very rarely is the word I'm looking for. Very rarely are these fighters anywhere close. Islam usually gets them down, grounds and pounds them, destroys them, holds them down and lays and prays. We look at Oliveira, the first fight, or not Oliveira, but Volk, the first fight, and here we are. Similar story, but hear me out. Just a little bit different. Not too crazy, but a little bit different in the sense that Dustin went in there and he stuffed some takedowns. He was good until he got against the cage, but Islam could not take him down until he got him against the cage, which is an incredible takedown defense for, I know it's MMA, but I consider Dustin a striker. So for a striker, his submission defense, or his takedown defense, should I say, insane. Next level. His ability to just get up, pretty good. He did pretty good at just getting up. They did say that the judges had it scored 2-2 going into the last round. So if Dustin could have just held on a little bit longer and not get submitted, he had a very good chance of winning the title that night. But it's MMA, man. Like I said, you got to be able, anything can happen. Most of the time from the takeaway of these fights, you see like one fighter dominate. I personally, when I say that Islam dominated the fight, I feel like he did. Now, people are going to disagree with that statement. But I say that because at no point was Islam in danger. And you could say you could say the same for Dustin. It's like at no point was he in danger. However, Islam seemed to dictate where the fight would take place. He was bringing the pressure. Not that Dustin wasn't standing up and reciprocating the pressure, but Dustin wanted to stand and bang for a while there. Islam would stand and bang with him, proving that he had the hand skill to box with the best of them. I just don't think he's got that knockout power, or Dustin's just got a really good chin. And both of those things are very possible, but you've seen the striking. I would go as far as to say he even outstruck Dustin Poirier as far as accuracy, and just, sniper accuracy, He could stand in the pocket and bang with him, which I didn't like personally. I, as an MMA guy, am like, dude, shoot the takedown, pull him down, lay and pray, and just score those shoot the takedown points. But because he didn't go with that tactic 100%, was it gas? Was it he just wanted to try to knock him out? I don't know. It made for an entertaining fight. Back onto the Dustin thing, takes nothing away from Dustin. Doesn't make Dustin any less of a fighter. Dustin stood in there. He banged with what I think is the greatest fighter of our time right now. MMA-wise, the greatest fighter of our time. Which there's that statement. We're going to come back to that in a few. But Dustin Poirier stood and banged with the greatest fighter of our time. Took him all the way to the 5th round and lost a submission. Doesn't make Dustin a bad fighter. It just makes Dustin, who lost that fight, it makes him as a loser of that fight. But it was a good fight. Unfortunately, these fights, there's winners and losers. Dustin lost that fight, but it was not a bad fight for Dustin. It actually went a lot better. I take it back to the idea of that when Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather, many people did not think that Conor was going to last as long as he did. And the fact that he lasted pretty deep into the rounds with a professional boxer speaks to the amount of talent that Conor has himself. Now we're going to bring it full circle back around to Dustin. A lot of people, myself included, had Dustin going out in 2 rounds. via submission. And the fact that Dustin lasted all 5 rounds until I believe the last minute, maybe last 2 minutes, it wasn't very much longer he had to wait, and he gets caught from a amazing takedown that you don't see in MMA too often. Man, what a terrific athlete that makes Dustin, does it not? Dustin did make the statement that was kind of being misconstrued into retiring, and he kind of made it sound like that he's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but his reasoning behind it being he did not want to climb the mountain for a title fight again. He made it very clear he has no interest to climb the mountain for a title fight again. It was either his 3rd or 4th time climbing that mountain, getting up there and then falling short. He said he does not want to climb the mountain again. He said this might be it for him, unless there's just a really big fight that interests him. He said that money doesn't even interest him. I disagree with that, because I guarantee you somebody comes asking for like a Conor McGregor payday for Dustin, he will take that fight. But I don't think that that's going to be the situation. I've seen people talk about Dustin, fighting just different people here or there. I've seen somebody say Dustin versus Alexander Volkanovski. Not a bad idea, actually. I actually like that fight. I like the 2 dogs in that fight. That's a cool fight to see. The fact that we even got to see Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam, who I think they were both pound for pound number 1 and 2 in their prime, is an example of what we need more of. And a lot of these fighters, hopefully they move away from the idea of, like, not that the title doesn't make you the best of that division, but I like the idea of being the best of the best, right? So, like a pound for pound thing works, except for when you have those 2 way separate weight classes, then you probably won't ever get to see. Like, for instance, there's this, we go back to pound for pound best. I like how all these are tying together. I'm not having to do segments, but we go back to pound for pound best MMA fighter. If you look at, for instance, the John Jones versus Islam idea, Dana White came out and pretty much said that in his rankings, in his mind, John Jones is the number 1 pound for pound best fighter compared to Islam, because Islam has only dominated his division. He hasn't gone up in weight to fight anybody. He actually had Alexander Volkanovski go up in weight to fight him. And currently, keep in mind, Islam Makhachev is number 1 in the pound for pound rankings. Dana White says that anybody who has Islam Makhachev as their number 1 in pound for pound rankings should not be doing pound for pound rankings, because John Jones is number 1. His reason being is John Jones took 3 years off of fighting, came back in the heavyweight division, beat the number 1 guy in the heavyweight division dominatingly, and got that title. Apparently, because his domination victories throughout years. I'm going to go as far as saying Islam is the GOAT currently, or the number 1 currently for me, because he is active. Not that John Jones is inactive, I would say because he chooses to be, but he was inactive due to the injury. Now I think he said he's ready. They got some stuff. He's already announced he's coming back, and that he's going to let Dana announce everything. But that doesn't take away from John Jones's amazing career and the fact that he might be number 1.5, 1.2, 1.1, or if you could break it down anymore, because of what Dana said, that he's went up and he's just dominated. Most of his fights have been dominating victories, so has Islam's. That is true. So we'll never get to see those 2 fight, because I think the weight disparity is way too far apart. But man, that'd be the way to settle that, wouldn't it? But we're just living in a fantasy land, because that's never going to happen. In other news, UFC, is it 303? I think that might be getting canceled, y'all. They had already announced a rescheduling or postponement to the Dublin press conference, maybe even a cancellation. They didn't really say in specific, but either a cancellation or a postponement to the Dublin press conference for Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. Conor McGregor came out and made a public statement, pretty much just saying reasons beyond their control. They had to cancel the Dublin press conference, and he pretty much just apologizes. Doesn't say why. Now people are noticing advertisements for UFC 303 disappearing. People are noticing that UFC had released a bunch of Conor's best fights as a way to get people hyped, especially like the prime Conor when he's going in there, Mystic Mac era, knocking people out first round, second round, just piecing them up, dude. They posted all of those fights. They've privated the videos back again, so they're no longer available. Ariel Helwani, my guy, the nose, he pretty much says that he doesn't know anything, that the only thing that he had heard is that there are little rumblings of them looking for a backup fighter. Conor McGregor's been pretty much silent on everything. Michael Chandler posted that he was leaving his camp and going back to Tennessee, which is not good news. It might be... Look, man, I don't know. There's different ways to look at this, but looking through the microscope that we currently have of the information given, that Conor fight might be off. I've seen some people say allegedly, and these are just random MMA blurbs, no truth to them yet, that Conor has a shin injury. He will not be fighting. If that is the case, that is another major blow to combat sports as a whole. That's a major blow to my heart because, man, I need me some Conor McGregor fighting. This might be it. We never know. Hopefully this isn't it. Hopefully he's just, getting down with what he needs to mentally to get this fight done. I would like to tell myself that. My brain's saying that, but my heart says that Conor has been hurt or something of that nature. I've seen people talk about Conor failing a drug test. Once again, nothing has been confirmed. This podcast will be going up. What is today? Wednesday. This might be the last podcast of the week unless more news breaks of, Conor or any backups or anything like that. But currently, this entire fight card is in jeopardy, it seems like, because you don't really have anybody else in that fight card who can really carry that star power that's needed to make this like UFC 303, in my opinion. In my opinion, right now, it's looking like a fight night. I think you got the... I don't remember what the dude's name is that just got knocked out. Maybe I can look it up real quick, but you had a gentleman... Jamal Hill, who he has a fight coming up. That's on that card. So currently, I just looked it up. They still don't have it as canceled. They still have it. Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. Like I said, I doubt that happens. I really doubt that happens. I think they're just holding out. And then you got Jamal Hill versus Carlos Ulberg. I don't care about that one. I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't care. I hope Jamal Hill wins. I hope it puts him back in contention for the title. I think that's the word for it, contention. But I don't see anything crazy happening off that fight. And then you got Mayra Bueno Silva versus Macy Chiasson. Just no good fights on that card besides the Conor McGregor-Michael Chandler fight. Now, if they do make something happen, do you get Michael Chandler versus Holloway for the BMF title? Not a bad idea. The only reason I say no, we don't get that, is solely because Michael Chandler's saying that he's going home from his camp. So I don't think we get that. I think they're looking for a strict replacement for this card. Somebody who's willing to hop in. Man, I just hope that any of them are willing to hop in, But I'm hoping they're going to save this card. I don't want them to do this card and throw it away. I don't want them to... I want them to have a good headline fight. I don't want them to put any bull crap on, because this card has been so much hype. This card itself kind of just bad news in general, because between the Mike Tyson fight being canceled and this fight being canceled, allegedly, we don't have anything going on this month in particular. Like I said, you got the Mike Tyson Paul fight being canceled. I had a big plan for that. It not only interrupts my plans, but it interrupts everyone else's plans. Like I said, we had a bunch of people together who we were like, yeah, we're going to get together. They canceled my Tyson fight. I invite those same people over. I'm like, you know what? They've postponed it, canceled it. Let's bring over some friends for the Conor McGregor fight. And now we're right back in the same situation that it might be up in the air. But the worst part is, this is only a few weeks away. This is a few weeks away. So you have people who are, I'm not one of these people, but I would be irate if people are taking days off from work. They're planning their travel. They are booking hotels. They are taking their life right now and finding a way to make it to the event that might be canceled. UFC should go ahead and announce it. Call it if it's canceled. They probably won't. And I hope it doesn't get canceled. It's just a lot of mystery surrounding what's going on right now. So I'm hoping it's not canceled. I think I'm going to wrap the podcast up with that topic, because I've been going on for a little bit. This is going to be a little bit shorter podcast compared to what I've put out previously. But that's just been the news, you know. So if there's any more news, I will jump on another podcast, maybe make it an emergency podcast or something. I don't know. We shall see. Does the Conor McGregor fight get canceled? Who replaces them? Is Michael Chandler going to still fight, or is he going to lay out again and wait for Conor for another year, 2 years? We have no clue. We will see what happens. Join me on the next Fights and Fragz podcast. Later.